Good morning. The court is going to call the matter of Richards v. Richards. It's a child custody action. Good morning, counsel. Good morning. I see that we have some interpreters with us today. Will the interpreters who are going to be assisting in this matter please stand so that I may administer the oath? We have 2 interpreters, is that correct?
We have 3, Your Honor.
3 interpreters, so we'll do the oath 3 times then. Will the first interpreter please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully interpret from American Sign Language into English and from English into Sign Language the proceedings before this court in an accurate manner to the best of your skill and knowledge?
I do.
Okay. Will the second interpreter please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully interpret from American Sign Language into English and from English into American Sign Language the proceedings before this court in an accurate manner to the best of your skill and knowledge?
I do.
Thank you. And will the third interpreter please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully interpret from American Sign Language into English and from English into American Sign Language the proceedings before this court in an accurate manner to the best of your skill and knowledge?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. All right. Will the attorneys please enter their appearances for the record, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Alice Smith, and I am here on behalf of Ms. Barbara Richards.
Good morning, Ms. Smith. And opposing counsel?
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Amy Brown, and I am here for Mr. Richards.
Great. Thank you. All right. Ms. Smith, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, I would call Ms. Barbara Richards. Your Honor, Ms. Richards is deaf, and we have 3 interpreters helping us today: Jennifer Storr, Trenton Marsh, and Posh McCombs.
Great. Ms. Richards, if you'll just come to the stand, please. Please be seated and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, under penalty of perjury, that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. All right, are the interpreters all okay? Can everybody see okay?
We can, Your Honor.
If there are any problems, just let me know.
Thank you.
May I proceed? Judge?
Yes, please do.
Please state your full name for the record.
My name is Barbara Ann Richards.
And where do you reside?
Golden, Colorado.
And what is the exact address?
One 5929 West, 60th Circle, 80403.
Are you deaf?
Yes.
And how long have you been deaf? Since when?
Since the age of 12, I have spinal meningitis, and so have been deaf since the age of 12.
Can you understand me and the questions I'm asking you through the interpreters?
Yes.
What is your age?
35.
And how old is your husband?
37.
Is your husband deaf also?
Yes.
As to the marriage, were there any children of this marriage?
Yes, 1 child.
And what is the name and age of that child?
It's a daughter, and her name is Sarah Richards.
And does she reside in the home?
Yes.
Is Sarah deaf?
Yes, since birth.
And at the present time, do both you and your husband still reside in the home?
Yes.
Okay, now, can you tell the court about your educational background, please?
Can I restart?
Absolutely. If you'll tell the court, please, where you went to school and how much schooling you've had.
I went to high school, graduated from high school, and then attended Gallaudet University and graduated from there as well.
And did you have a major at Gallaudet?
Gallaudet University is the only liberal arts university in the United States.
And is that specifically for the deaf?
Yes.
And did you major in elementary education there?
Yes.
Now, when were you married?
In 1988.
And where did you get married?
In Golden, Colorado.
You filed an application with this court for custody of your child, is that correct?
Yes.
And if the court were to grant you custody of your child, where would you like to live with your daughter?
I would plan on staying in the Denver area.
And if possible, would you like to live in the same home that you're living in now?
I would like to be at least close enough in that area so that it's in an area that Sarah is familiar with, yes.
And can you describe to the court the house that you currently live in?
It's a very nice home, 3-bedroom, ranch-style house.
Are there any rooms besides bedrooms?
Yes, it's a very nice home. There's a kitchen, there's a living room, there's a family room and a recreational room in the basement where Sarah and her friends often play.
And is Sarah happy
In
living?
a nice neighborhood.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
Is Sarah happy living in that home?
Oh, extremely happy.
And if you'll describe for the court the neighborhood that you live in.
It's a very nice neighborhood. It's located in a cul-de-sac, so it's very safe. And it's also Sarah's childhood home. She's grown up there, and so is very familiar with the neighborhood and the people in it.
Are you also happy living there?
Oh, yes, I am.
And are you employed at the present time?
Yes.
How are you employed?
I'm a resource teacher for deaf and hard of hearing students at Ralston Elementary.
And what time do you leave for work in the morning?
Typically between 8:10 a.m.
How many days a week do you go to work?
5 days a week.
And what time do you generally leave that work to come home?
Work finishes around 3:10, and then I usually wrap things up. I get home no later than 4 o'clock.
Now, how do you coordinate that with Sarah leaving and going to her school?
And the interpreter asked for clarification.
How do you coordinate your schedule
In the
with
morning,
Sarah's schedule?
in the morning and afternoon.
In the morning and
Thank
evening.
you. I typically leave before Sarah does, a few minutes before. I get everything ready, her breakfast, make sure that everything's set, ready for her to go, and then I leave. She leaves a few minutes later, and then Sarah gets home a half an hour before I arrive home from work.
And if the court were to grant you custody, how would you handle that situation if you and Sarah were to live where you are now?
In the morning, I think I would do things as I am now. I would get everything ready for Sarah and then leave, and she would leave a few minutes later. In the afternoon, I have a neighbor who could watch her for the half an hour until I arrive home. I think it would be fine. It wouldn't be a problem.
And this neighbor is a friend of yours?
Yes.
And she takes care of Sarah for that half an hour or so that she would be home alone at the end of the day?
Yes.
At the present time, the neighbor does not come in the morning, is that correct?
That's correct.
Um,
Because my husband is still there, so he makes sure everything is done and sees her off to school.
Do you have any flexibility in your teaching time in the event that Sarah were to become ill, or you would have to be home with her for any particular reason?
Yes, the agreement was already previously made upon my employer hiring me, that if Sarah were to become sick or there were any needs, that I could stay home with her.
Would they then get a substitute teacher to cover your class?
Yes, they would get a substitute teacher to cover it, yes.
Thank you. Now, who prepares the meals in your home?
I do.
And how many meals a day does Sarah have at home?
May the interpreter ask for clarification?
Yes, please.
I prepare the meals. Typically, she has breakfast and dinner at home and then has lunch at school. In addition to her lunch, I pack a snack for her to bring with her to school as well.
Thank you. Now, what does Sarah have for breakfast?
The typical breakfast: cereal, oatmeal, hot cereal, pancakes, waffles, and if I have time, then I will have them ready for her to microwave and eat while I'm getting ready for work.
And
And I keep them in the oven to keep them warm.
I'm sorry.
I keep them in the oven to keep them warm for her.
And does she serve herself then?
My husband's at home, so he makes sure that she's served and that she has eaten.
And how about dinner?
I cook dinner.
And what time do you generally have dinner?
5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere around there.
And does your husband come home for dinner?
Most of the time, yes.
And do the three of you have dinner together, a family meal?
Yes.
And what kind of dinners do you generally serve at your home?
Your typical kind of thing: a meat, protein, vegetable, potatoes, that kind of thing.
Does Sarah like that?
Yes.
Now, who shops for the food?
I do. I shop for our household.
And where do you usually shop?
The Safeway close to my house.
Does your husband ever shop for the dinner table?
Typically not. There are times if he is on his way home from work, he may stop and pick up something and bring it home with him on his way.
Can you describe Sarah's table manners?
I think she has very good table manners. She's still young, so still learning, but overall, I think they're very good.
On weekends, does she ever eat out for any of her meals?
It's more common that we eat at home, but every once in a while I'll take Sarah out and we'll have a meal out, hamburgers, pizza, or with a friend, one of Sarah's friends, we'll go out to eat.
And can you describe Sarah's cleanliness? her personal habits.
Again, she's young, so she's still learning, but she's clean. She bathes 2, 3, 4 times a week, and overall, I'd say she's a clean girl.
How do you know that she showers 2, 3, 4 times a week?
Because she bathes while I'm there at the house, so I know that she has taken her bath or her shower in the morning or in the evening because I'm there to see it.
And can you describe her bedroom for the court, please?
I would say she's your typical child. She does make her bed very well. She hangs her clothes typically in the closet and puts them away, but she does have clothes that are scattered around the room on the floor and whatnot, as a typical child would.
Are you pretty comfortable with the way that she keeps her bedroom?
Yes, for her age and for being a child, I am comfortable with it. I think overall it's clean.
How about your husband? Is he comfortable with the way Sarah keeps her bedroom?
Philip doesn't typically go into or see Sarah's bedroom, but I would imagine if he did see it and it was clean, he would be comfortable with it.
So he's never complained to you about that situation?
No.
Ms. Richards, I would direct your attention to the child's medical situation. Does Sarah have a pediatrician, a doctor?
Yes, Dr. Oscar Windler.
And where is that office located?
The intersection of 104 and I can't remember the other street.
Is that in the Golden Medical Building, that area?
Yes, that's right.
And who takes Sarah to the doctor when she has to go?
I typically take Sarah to the doctor.
So do you know the doctor personally?
I don't know about personally. I know him as Sarah's doctor and have conversed and communicated with him regularly and feel comfortable with him, yes.
And how do you communicate with, how does Sarah communicate with the doctor?
Through an interpreter that is typically sent by Purple Communications.
And would you just give the court a rough guess of how many times you've been to that doctor's office with Sarah over the years?
I'd say at least 50 times.
Has your husband ever been to the doctor's office?
No.
Does Sarah have any special medical problems?
No.
Does she have any problem with her eyes?
Yes, she is currently seeing a doctor for some kind of problem with her eyes. We have been unable to figure out exactly what the problem is, but she is in a doctor's care for that.
Is there anything particularly serious about that that can't be cured, or is that something you're working on?
It's still unknown. It's something we're still working on.
How about dental? Does she go regularly for dental checkups?
Yes, 2 times a year.
And who takes her to those?
I do.
Does she have any prescriptions that she takes on a regular basis?
As of now, no, nothing on a regular basis. Just the typical thing if she gets sick, an antibiotic, that sort of thing.
And if she needed those, say, antibiotics, who would give those to her?
I do because I know the dosage that she needs to take and then the schedule of when she needs to take it.
And how do you order these prescriptions?
I call through what's called a video relay service center. It's a video relay interpreter that interprets the call.
And can you explain a little more about that service to the judge, please? What is VRS?
It's a third-party call. There's a call center that has interpreters that are housed there. I have a device where the interpreter and I can see each other. I place the call and the interpreter can then talk to the person that can hear and relay the call between the two of us, rendering what they can see from me and then back to the hearing person and then rendering the person who can hear back to me.
Have you taught Sarah how to use this in case of emergency?
Yes, I've trained her how to use the video relay service, VRS, to contact 911, contact me, or contact a family member if needed.
Okay. Now, in the past several years, has Sarah ever had to stay home for several days at a time?
I want to clarify, you mean that I, as a mother, have left her home alone?
No, has she been ill? And has it been required that she needs to be home? And if so, who would stay home with her?
Your Honor, I believe that the previous interpretation was inaccurate, so I'd
Okay.
like to reinterpret that question.
Please do.
Thank you. Oh, yes, I've stayed home with her for several days when she's been sick. Yes, that's happened.
And did that cause any problem with your employment?
No, it was fine.
Who purchases Sarah's clothes?
I do. I typically shop for her clothes.
And where would you buy those?
Your typical type of stores: Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, Old Navy, those types of places.
And if I were to ask you Sarah's precise sizes, what she actually is wearing today, would you be able to tell that to the court?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Now, if I were to ask your husband at this moment the same question, would he know the size of Sarah's clothing?
Your Honor, I object. That's highly speculative.
Overruled. Ms. Richards, you may answer that question.
He would not know the clothing size, no.
And is that because he doesn't do the shopping for her?
Yes, that would be correct.
Now, as to other household chores, who does the laundry, the mending, the sewing?
Typically me. If mending you mean around the house, then that would not be me.
But as to Sarah, would that Sarah's clothes or things?
Oh, if it's to Sarah, then yes, that's me.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about her education. What school does Sarah attend at the present time?
She goes to the Rocky Mountain School for the Deaf in Jeffco in Golden, Colorado.
And what kind of school is that?
It's a bilingual charter school.
And what grade is she in?
6th.
Have you been to the school
Oh, yes.
often?
I would say often. Typically go for parent-teacher conferences, and then every few months just to make sure everything's going well.
Is Sarah having any particular problems outside or whatever a normal situation might be?
Oh, no.
How's she doing grade-wise?
She does extremely well in school.
Does she like her school?
Yes, she's very happy there.
Does she like her classmates?
Oh, yes, she typically has friends over, which makes me assume even more that she likes the friends and her classmates at school.
And does she like her teachers?
Yes.
Does she generally have homework?
Yes.
Are her teachers, if I can back up a minute, are her teachers fluent in sign language?
They are completely fluent in American Sign Language, which allows them to provide direct instruction to Sarah.
And if we can move on then to homework, does she have homework, and who works with her when she's doing that homework?
I typically sit with Sarah, make sure that she finishes her homework. My background is in education, so of course that's something I value. And I sit with her to make sure that she has finished it well and make sure that it is completed.
Objection, Your Honor. Please direct the witness to respond to the question.
All right, Ms. Richards, if you could just respond to the question that was asked of you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do you or your husband ever read to her?
I do.
What about museums, theaters, children's plays, anything like that?
I don't typically do that because she does those kinds of activities with her school, does that maybe once a year, and I think that that's sufficient.
And were those plays interpreted for her?
Yes, they have an interpreter there so that they can enjoy it as well.
How about television?
We don't watch TV. I'd prefer that she read rather than watch TV.
What is your husband's position regarding television?
The same as mine.
Has Sarah had any religious training?
Yes, she attends Sunday school and church.
And do you and your husband agree on Sarah's religious training?
I would have liked for us to be able to attend church as a family and attend together, but he typically would not be able to get up in the morning. He would have to sleep in, and so we were not able to do that as a family.
Does Sarah have birthday parties?
Yes.
Who's the organizer for those birthday parties?
I organize the parties.
Can you describe for the court the last birthday party that you organized?
She was able to invite 7 friends over from school and some neighborhood kids. And there were your typical refreshments, snacks, a cake, games, just your fun, typical birthday party.
How about your health? Are you healthy?
Oh, yes, I'm fine.
And what do you know about your husband's health?
I think his is good as well.
Do you have any particular talents of your own?
Can you maybe rephrase that question?
I know you earned your degree and you work with children. Would you consider those special talents to work with children?
Yes, I value my degree, and I do think that it makes me a talented person in working and interacting with children.
Now, if I were to ask you to describe in some detail a typical weekday, one day of the week with you, your husband, and your child, from the moment that person gets up in the household until the end of the day when the last person goes to sleep, would you be able to do that for the court?
Yes, I could.
And the same for the weekend. If I were to ask you a typical day on a Saturday or a Sunday, what that typical schedule is, would you be able to do that?
Yes, I could.
Now, Ms. Richards, there was an allegation made by your husband that you have a serious drinking problem. Are you aware of that allegation?
Yes.
Would you tell the court about that situation?
Yes, I am aware that I've had a drinking problem in the past. Over the last year, though, the last 12 months, I have been sober. But when my husband has been critical of me, critical of my daughter Sarah, it's created a lot of stress and pressure on me, and it's caused me at times to drink. So, yes, I've had that situation.
I think she means that back when she did drink, and that's what the critical and stress caused her to drink in the past, not.
And so, because of this feeling stress and my husband being critical of me is when I did drink.
At this point, have you stopped altogether?
Yes, so for the last year, 12 months, I have not been drinking.
Does Sarah love her father?
Oh, yes, most definitely. She does love her father.
And how would you describe her relationship with her father?
They have a very good relationship with each other.
Can you please tell the court what kind of relationship you have with her?
I do feel that we have a very good relationship. We're able to communicate and talk with one another. I'm there for her. I feel that she's very comfortable. If she has a question or she wants to tell me anything, we have that kind of very open communication, and she knows that I'm there for her.
Do you believe that Sarah would be better off in your custody than in the custody of your husband?
I believe she would be better off with me.
And please tell the judge why.
Well, because I take care of her, I provide her meals, I clean, I cook, I do all the things that she needs. And so I feel that she should be the one to live with me.
And if you were awarded custody, would you encourage the relationship between Sarah and her father?
Oh, yes, most definitely, I would do that.
Your Honor, I have no further questions of this witness.
All right, thank you, Ms. Norman. Ms. Brown, do you have cross-examination?
I do. Good morning, Ms. Richards. Ms. Richards, you say you're employed as a teacher, is that correct?
Yes,
And you have pretty rigid hours?
yes,
You leave pretty early in the morning, is that correct?
yes,
You leave before Sarah gets to school?
yes, but my husband is there to see her off to school.
Okay, just to be exact, you leave about 45 minutes before she goes to school, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and in bad weather, you're not around to take her to school, are you?
no, I don't.
But your husband is around and able to do that, is that correct?
Yes,
His hours are flexible, is that right?
yes,
So he can adjust his hours to Sarah's schedule, whatever she needs, is that correct?
more or less, yes.
Okay, and if Sarah's sick while you're at school, have you told us that you can just take off from work at any time and that's okay?
Yes, if she's really sick, I am able to leave work, but no problem.
And this doesn't affect your job security?
No, it doesn't.
Now, switching gears, you've testified that you had a drinking problem, is that correct?
Yes,
And it affected your home life, is that correct?
yes,
Now, was Sarah aware of your drinking problem?
Objection, Your Honor. There's been no showing of a problem.
right. Will the interpreter please strike the word problem? And then, Ms. Richards, you may please answer the question.
The interpreter requests that you re-ask the question.
Sure. Was Sarah aware of your drinking problem?
And this takes us
I'm
back
sorry.
to the original issue. If you could just rephrase your
Sure,
question.
I'm sorry about that.
That's fine, go right ahead.
Was Sarah aware of your drinking concerns or your drinking patterns or habits?
I'm not sure she was really aware. I really don't think she knew.
Well, isn't it true that Sarah had a birthday party once at which you started drinking and became intoxicated, and you called all the children's parents to pick them up from the birthday party? Is that correct?
I do not recall that.
You don't?
No.
Okay, is it true that you've had problems controlling your emotions when you've been drinking?
Yes.
Okay, and you would like the court to believe that all of a sudden, a year ago, you just stopped drinking.
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions at this time.
All right. Ms. Smith, do you have any additional witnesses?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I would call Dr. Marshall as the next witness.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Richards, you may step down. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
The court will next call Dr. Marshall, is that correct?